a Special Forces soldier with 5th Special Forces Group out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I'm not going to mention my battalion or an ODA, Operational Detachment Alpha. For those of you who don't know, it's a group of 12 soldiers who supposed to insert themselves into a hostile country and begin propping up resistance forces against whoever we are supposed to be fighting with. I just arrived to my ODA right before deployment to Afghanistan. My company was supposed to cover a remote area of Kunar Province. Kunar Province is a very mountainous province covered by forests. It is very high above sea level, causing many people not used to it pass out that are not used to this altitude. In 2015, I went on my first 6-month tour to Kunar Province. The deployment to Kunar Province was not supposed to be an easy one. Most of the guys who's been to Kunar Province always talked about how difficult it was to operate in those mountains. At the beginning of our deployment, we were in Bagram Air Base. For about 2 weeks we did a whole lot of nothing, except working out, receiving some briefings and classes, and going to the range to maintain our marksmanship skills. After 2 weeks we were finally able to go to Kunar for the first time. We were linking up with Afghan Commando Unit. It was best trained and equipped Afghan unit. We were replacing another ODA station at Afghan Commando Base. We didn't get to talk to them too much as they left almost immediately as we arrived. We were going out on missions with Afghan commandos for about first 3 months. Most of it was night raids, reconnaissance, and intelligence gathering. Nothing out of ordinary has happened. Couple of firefights, couple of eyed strikes, but that's all the stuff we were used to. About halfway into our deployment, the task force ordered us to clear a very remote village in Kunar Province. According to our J2 coalition, or Afghan forces had never been there. I will not disclose name of this village, but it was right on the border with Pakistan. We began planning the mission. We identified all of the requirements requested: needed air support and airlift. We then were briefing our Afghan counterparts. We were going to take a platoon of Afghan commando with us if shit hits the fan. There's only 12 of us in an ODA, and having a platoon of highly trained Afghan commandos with us, it's always a great bonus. When we were briefing our Afghan counterparts on the upcoming mission, a few soldiers from commando platoon began to make faces, like we didn't know what the hell we were doing for where we were going. I asked the commando, "Put you later, why are they nodding in such a negative way?" The platoon leader in broken English explained to me that both of those soldiers are from Kunar Province, and there's some legend attached to the area where we were going. Something has to do with jinns and evil spirits. What a fucking waste of time, I thought. Spirits, jinns. We got our gear on and moved to the airfield. Our Afghan counterparts arrived shortly after. We were waiting for 2 Chinook CH-47 helicopters to pick us up. Chinooks had flew in, landed on the airfield. We quickly made our way inside the Chinook, and our team captain ensured that Afghans were accounted for and good to go. We took off that in the middle of the night with an intent to hit the objective early in the morning. That's not how we usually operated, but due to altitude and distance from the nearest airfield to the objective, we could only use MQ-9s for air support. AC-130s would not do well in this environment. After about an hour and a half of a flight, Chinooks landed on the side of a mountain. They were still hovering as the pilots dropped the ramp to let us dismount. We successfully egressed both aircrafts and begun pulling security. My watch showed a 4:00. We had about an hour and a half before the sunrise. That's the time we would use to set ourselves up for a successful mission. We kept slowly moving through the night and were reached outskirt of this village at about 5:25. Sun begun to rise. We decided to split our ODA into 4 elements. 2 of the elements with occupy and S and O positions, also known as surveillance and observation position. Our second element with occupy a support by fire position with Afghan weapons squad. And other 2 elements would accompany Afghan commandos as they were entering the village. Our combat controller was at the S and O position with me. We were close enough to see for Afghan squads along with our guys answering the village. We were able to maintain pretty good radio comms, and everything was going well. Team captain went with an assault element. He was very active on the radio, updating everybody else on how things are going. Village was not a very big settlement, maybe 20 to 25 huts. with a little bizarre, but as we were watching, we did not see a single civilian or a hostile in that area. Village was quickly cleared, and team captain ordered our OTA to consolidate in one of the houses. We quickly made our way down and set up the security around an old compound. If you've been to Afghanistan, you would know what I'm talking about. As we were occupying a compound, a really thick mist began rolling on us. We were utterly confused by that, as day was very sunny with clear skies. As mist rolled and things became dark and hard to see, visibility dropped to maybe 10 to 15 meters. Our CCT was trying to get a hold SWO to see what's going on and what weather forecast are they going to fuck up this time. But he couldn't get a hold of them. All of the comps seemed to be down. Our emergency cell phones didn't have a signal. Our PRC 117 Fox was unable to acquire satellite. Our Iridium phones wouldn't work. I've been to many missions in a very remote areas, but never had something like that happen to me. It was very bizarre. Our Afghan counterparts begun freaking out. Some of them started crying, and some of them were visibly irritated, to say scared. This is the first time when I saw Afghan commandos completely drop security posture and abandon their posts. This was very out of character for them. But this was something real. One of the Afghan soldiers kept saying spirits and Pashto. Something about us disturbing them. Our team captain wanted to hear none of that. He kept telling us to try to get a hold of the JOC Joint Operations Center for those of you not in the military. Our team captain wanted to report that objective was cleared, and person we were looking for, codename Jackhammer, was not in the village, and the village was completely empty. We tried our comms for about 6 hours, before our team captain decided to grab a SAT phone and couple of Afghan commandos along with team chief, and try to make it up on top of the mountain where he thought he was going to get some service. As we sat there and time was passing by, we noticed that sun was not going down. Even the color of the sun was a little bit different. It was almost like it was red. Mist also didn't go anywhere, and the whole thing was extremely creepy. Although we couldn't get a hold of the JOC, we could still talk to each other. Our team sergeant was constantly checking in with the team captain as they were making their way up the mountain. All of a sudden we heard gunshots and screaming. Oh shit, we thought Taliban had finally showed up. 4 Green Berets and squad of Afghan commandos rushed to the area where they heard the gunfire coming from. Myself included, we made our way to where we thought we heard the gunfire to discover our team captain just standing there surrounded by 3 bodies. What the fuck, we thought. What happened, I asked him. He didn't respond, and he had a very evil grin on his face. He was smiling while looking at me like when the dude get possessed by demon in the movies. This was the kind of smile I was seeing on his face. I told him, hey sir, I would put your weapon down and step away from it. He didn't even react. He started to raise his weapon, as I started screaming at him to put it down. He was still not listening. I had my M4 pointing it at him, and I squeezed the trigger, but I didn't shoot at him, I shot at his feet. He just stopped and looked down at where bullet landed. He didn't even flinch. He begun to talk, but it was not English. He wasn't even pushed to. It was something else I never heard before, some dead language or something. How in the fuck would he know something like that? The guy is an idiot. I talked to myself. Afghan commandos dropped their weapons and ran when he started talking whatever language he was talking. Team sergeant was trying to talk to the captain to calm him down and make him put down the weapon. Captain was just staring at him. In a split second, captain raised his pistol and shot team sergeant in the face several times, dropped dead. Remaining Green Berets fired at the captain. He collapsed as he was dying. They called me. He said, you need to get out of here. And then he let go of his last breath. We were all in shock. 3 of our cameras just perished in a split second. The most senior person was Sergeant First Class Johnson. He gathered us in the compound after we picked up bodies of commandos and our guys. Right before he was going to brief us on what he wants to do, Afghan command up with you later walked in. There was worry on his face, if not terror. He spoke a pretty good English, and he begun talking to us. He said, we need to get out of here, but it's not that easy. You can't just walk out from this village. We asked him, what do you mean? Why can't we just walk to the first Afghan border guard outpost we see? The platoon leader told us that he didn't know how to explain it, but if we want to try and walk away, we are more welcome to do so, but whatever happened to our team captain might end up happening to us as well. Sergeant First Class Johnson grabbed 2 more green braids with them and decided to make his way out. He said that once he gets to the high ground and he can get a hold of the jock, he'll pull everybody else up so we can get out of here. He began walking. The sun was still the red and creepy, the mist was still there, and it seemed to be getting even thicker. We heard more gunshots. Oh fuck, we thought, it's happening again. We ran to the location of gunshots with our weapons up, already know what to expect. Sure, Johnson was standing there surrounded by 2 bodies of the Green Berets that he took with them. He had the same grin on his face as a captain did before he died. My body staff Sergeant Rivera did not wait or try to talk to him, he simply shot him right in the head. Sergeant First Class Johnson collapsed. There was only 6 of us left now plus the Afghans. I decided to talk to 2 soldiers that said they were from Kunar province, and were somewhat familiar with this place. As I approached them, I noticed how calm they were compared to everybody else. I asked her interpreter Abdul to translate. I asked him if they have experienced anything like this before. One of them said yes. I then asked them how did they get out of there. Looked me in the eyes and said Inshallah. Abdul translated it as something like, this is the place where God tests man. If they have a good heart and soul, God willing, they will make it out. And if not, they will not, and they will die here and their soul will forever be trapped in this village. What the fuck, I thought? We were all pretty tired and wanted to take a nap. While 3 of us sleep, 3 of us guard the compound. I took my nap. I had an absolutely horrible nightmare. I don't even remember what it was about, but all I remember is that I did not want to go back to sleep. When we woke up in the morning or whatever it was, we noticed that mist was gone, and sun became normal Gila orange a color. Our CCT was finally able to get a hold of the jock and requested immediate extraction. Multiple helicopters flew in to pick us up, including those that perish. As we were flying out, I was looking at the village, and thinking how souls of all those that died here will never leave this village, and how horrifying it was. I felt blessed that I made it out. Special Operations Task Force wrote this off as an engagement with Taliban, and those who died by enemy fire. They simply brushed the whole thing under the rug. I will never forget this, and to this day I have nightmares about that village, where I see Team Captain grinning at me.